Good afternoon. It is the weekly wrap up this week, and I'm coming to you from the viewing room. Just been a lot going on. Don't have a long list like I usually do to go through updates. It's been quite, as you guys all know, a very emotional week for all of us. We had to say goodbye to Bengal Max and Cheetah Lavani. And even though neither one of them was unexpected, the days that we have to say goodbye are unexpected. And so it has been just a roller coaster of emotion. I think I've been saying this for a few months now that I don't remember feeling this overwhelmed in the sanctuary since the beginning of when we started, and there just wasn't enough staff. And we have enough people, it's just we're trying to move forward with our animal care, caring for the animals, some construction, and then everything else gets layered on top. And so it's just really hard to have the highs be so high, like Catio Town, and then the lows be so low. But I want to talk a little bit about Max and Lavani to honor them before I kind of go into some more of just the daily happenings around here. Max and his buddy Tiger, are 18 to 20 years old, and they've been declining. And so we moved them, not to Catio Town, we actually moved them both to the caretaker offices upstairs so they could get more attention and things like that. So they got to move in, get a lot of attention, and then Max started having seizures. Now his seizures are very different than Jack's the Bobcat, who was young. End-of-life seizures can be caused by a lot of things, but usually it's renal failure or a brain tumor, especially at a really, really old age. And so we tried to do medical intervention for Max, but we just knew after he had seizures multiple during a day that his body was shutting down. So he was surrounded by everybody he loved, but just definitely wasn't the day we expected. Lavani, we've been talking about for a long time, and sometimes there isn't like cancer, which means you can't wake them up, you find cancer. Sometimes it's like that gastritis, and they're just deteriorating and deteriorating. And we talked about that. We were gonna have to intervene and make the decision for Lavani, because we didn't want him to deteriorate to the point that it was just icky. So we had sat as a meeting, sat with caretakers, and decided that it would be best for him to say goodbye to him before the extreme winter months. His body condition had he'd lost a lot of weight. He was still eating at that time, but lost a lot of weight. But the days were nice. He was laying out in the sun. He was often laying along the shared wall with Beauty and Aaron on the other side. And so we thought, as long as the weather's good, we wanted to keep him with us. But we were very concerned coming winter. We knew it was really stressful, especially without his brother, if we moved him up to quarantine like we had in the past. We know he does not like being locked in. We knew with his body condition, just being in the heated den was not appropriate for him. So we had planned our benchmarks. And of course we planned those benchmarks that would have been a few weeks out from now. And then he started going on food and not wanting to come up for food. And his third eyelid was up in one eye. And so we, after had a benchmark of if he doesn't eat for so many days, no matter what we've tried, he's not at the point where we can sedate him and give him supportive care and get him back to a young cat or a healthy cat. So we knew the next time we sedated or intervened, it would be to say goodbye. So the staff made that decision, and I made that decision that on a certain day, if he hadn't eaten still, that it was time. And so of course, when we go down there, we still take blood work, we still send out tissue samples, and we still want some medical information before we make that decision. But I'm glad he was surrounded by everybody he loved, and he's back reunited with his brother. And he, Aaron seems just fine, sadly, without him. Aaron's pretty independent. Tiger has merged upstairs with Edgar and Josie, and there's definitely even some pictures of Edgar and Tiger sleeping by each other and near each other. So The hard thing is, this comes in waves. There was Elise said, like, the year she started, we had lost 14 cats probably in a 9-month period of time. That was one of our most, and I feel like we're gonna be there again this year, mostly because we have so many old geriatrics. But we also know there's cats, and I've always said this, and it proves me right every time, is that when we're focused on the old cats and the geriatrics and end-of-lifers, there's going to be a cat that comes out of left field that has something that we didn't expect. And so I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. The staff, you know, it's part of what we do here, but it's not easy, and it doesn't get easier, especially when it comes in waves. And it's really hard to want to be so happy for Catio Town and so happy for the other things going on, and then you sometimes feel guilty that you aren't holding enough space for the sad or the losses. It's a juggling act, and every person handles it differently. So it's been challenging here, but we're trying to remember them and celebrate their lives, and really appreciate the tigers and the bennies and the dreams, and you know, all the older cats, the Pandoras, Shadow and Shazam, that are still here. And we know, given their age, they can only be with us so long. So, you know, thank you guys for being alongside us for that. And I did have, not to call anybody out, but I did have somebody reach out on a really rough night for us, a night that we were here late at night trying to do critical and life-saving care. We had this week, and somebody reached out, and I know it was because they care so much, but they reached out saying that they were really put back by Sebastian the Serval's memorial, and that it felt like an afterthought, and that we weren't being completely transparent about his passing and things like that. And I thought, I'm not going to answer this. This is really tough to have somebody say that when you and all the team and the vets are here giving it the all, and we're ready at a breaking point. But I chose to respond, and I chose to be honest about how hurtful that felt, that sometimes the memorials are super raw, and you feel every emotion we feel, and we put every nitty-gritty in there, and other times they're a little bit subdued, mostly because maybe the person that was closest to that animal is having a really hard time and just can't write that memorial, and so I'm stepping in, or somebody else is stepping in. Other times you see your staff, or you see a staff member just crumble at the loss of an animal they loved and cared for 18 to 20 years. And it's just not important to relive publicly the day of death as much as it is the lifetime. And so it's never that we're trying to not be transparent or anything, but I also want to be respectful of the people that are here with them, work alongside them, their mental state. And sometimes for my own mental state is, you know, I just don't want to relive this by writing every moment when we sat there and had to say goodbye to an animal. So it's not that we don't want to bring you along, but know that each memorial is different based on who writes it. Each memorial is different based on how we're feeling at the moment. When you get so many of them, you can fall to your knees and crush, or you can be a little numb, or it can be you don't want to relive those details by writing them and sharing them again because it was really hard. So just thank you all who have been through a loss, and know that grief is not linear, it is cyclical. It comes in waves. There's no right or wrong, and that we appreciate all of you that give us huge hugs, send wonderful messages, and the time when we need space, give us space. So it's just really appreciated, and we know how important these animals are to you, and we know that the care they get and being safe at sanctuaries because of your generosity. And so that's why we do share the memorials. That's why we do have memorial plaques. That's why we do have the rock display case. It's why we do have the memorials posted on the website. It's why we do have an ash release ceremony. It is because the loss of the animals that we've loved and cared for so much is hard, and there is a lot of steps in closure and processing that. I just thank you for giving us a little grace on times that it might not feel like another memorial or another announcement or how we do it. A lot of that is just where we're at emotionally in the stage of grief and loss. So, but we're gonna hold the other ones near and dear today. They definitely, the cats cheer us up. I was out in Catio Town this morning, and for those of you that have cats in the sky room, your little kitties are naughty. They're probably not gonna get all that pretty linens and things. We were searching for the strongest urine smell I've ever smelled today, and picked up one of the big fluffy blue cat beds, and you could have wrung it out. It was not a one-time pee. It is, and I'm kind of blaming Merlin, but I don't know if it was Merlin. So we just had to laugh. So Catio Town is already being christened, like Bengals and hybrids do, and so that kind of, sadly that cat urine made me smile, but it was just like one of those moments of, like we still have the beautiful 100+ cats here, even though we know we've had some losses and we're gonna have to have some more in the near future. So we'll keep you posted whenever we can. If things happen and we don't share right away, no, it's nothing against holding it back from you. It's just allowing those closest to those animals to heal and process before it goes out there publicly. So thank you guys for loving as much as you guys do. I know some of the first questions I've gotten by caretakers and sponsors is, are we gonna accept more cheetahs? If you remember, Lavani and Kitu were really bonded, and so when we accepted Aaron, we wanted kind of a single cheetah that was independent so that we didn't get into the cycle of always having to bring in another cheetah. More so, if we had true rescues that were not rehoming from zoos or retiring from zoos that needed space, that we could give that space to the rescues, first and foremost. And secondly, we don't want a cat that's always pining for another cat. So Aaron's doing really well. We do not have a decision on whether that enclosure will be filled with cheetahs or other species right now. I can guarantee you that there will not be a cheetah joining us during our winter months. But we do have still a lot of good news to celebrate, and some stuff I want to celebrate with you today is, Catio Town. Not only is the inside amazing, and that it's so fun and joyous, and it's just, I can't wait to bring my computer out there and work. I promised I was going to do it yesterday, but I had a printer needs, and so I didn't bring my printer out there. But Bobby and Jesse, our facilities guys, are working so hard in getting all the skywalks and catwalks done outside. So our goal is next week they'll have access to their catios. There might be a few that don't, because we have some concrete cracks that were unexpected, and we're having the contractor come back and seal those. And I don't know how long that takes before we or the cats can walk on it. But it'll be really nice to see them outdoors in their catios, not just their cat rooms. So that's awesome. And on top of it, we have 2 pavilions that just came yesterday, and that's part of the Catio Town project too. It's a place for volunteers, staff, and everybody can really sit. Right now they're right behind the animal care center, so they're kind of in close proximity, but behind our animal care center right now is kind of like our construction area and where we park things. That's not going to be the future of that. That is going to get landscaped and be green, and storage and everything will go somewhere else. So we're really excited about that space because it's just nice to be able to be surrounded by cats and sit somewhere and relax in the summer months, since we don't have summer here all the time. And so those were some big projects. Bungalows 6 and 7, which were vacant because the cats moved into Catio Town. They got the old bungalows torn down because sponsors purchased new bungalow buildings, which are bigger, better, cleaner, and they have moved to another area of the enclosure, and then we're moving out the old buildings and closing up that area. So that's been busy work as well here and taking a lot of time. Some other news is Lucy and Winona swapped because we wanted Lucy to start using her building. And so Elise and Katrina and others were over there, and Lucy was coming up chuffing, and she went in the building but didn't want to stay too long. So we gave her some positive reinforcement, got her into the building with a smaller shift and shut that. And she was a little nervous at first, but by the end of that day, she was chuffing and laying indoors in her bed box. So you probably won't see her in a live post for a little bit because we are keeping her in that room in the smaller shift for about 5 days, we're thinking. I mean, if she'll tolerate it. Because what we've learned about Lucy is it takes about 4 days for her to settle into another change. And so if we can keep her shifted in that area with positive reinforcement, having her use her indoor bed box, having her get used to Jeremy and Simon whining across the hallway, then we think there'll be a really, really good chance she'll choose to use that versus sleeping out in her straw out in her habitat. So, but she's just a sweet girl. She is so sweet, and humans are her thing. One thing that reminded me is when we shifted her to the front enclosure, we had our rescue van parked up front, and the rescue van was the one that had the tiger decal on it, and she saw that and she saw the tiger and got very nervous, so we had to move it away. Super opposite of when we used to have Tiger Zeus before he passed away, and anytime he saw one of our vehicles with the tiger decal, he would just chuff and think it was another tiger and excitedly chuff at it. So she had the opposite reaction. Not something we expected, but we moved it right out of the way, and she was completely fine. So, it's just been a lot, and we're so thankful the weather has held out. I'm leaving, and Olivia's leaving tomorrow for the Pause conference. I'll be back, and Olivia will be back on Tuesday next week. And then we are going to be starting to rev up Give to the Max. Give to the Max is where your donations are double. And we have some big news. Some news you already know, but we'll share more information next week. And we're hoping we can share some new rescue news with you in the future too. So you'll want to stay tuned all through Give to Max. The Give to Max Day is November 21st. And that's when we're kind of doing our marathon day. But anytime you give now, it is doubled for the cats, and it means a lot. With all the new construction, new mouths to feed like Lucy, new medication for Lucy, all of that really, really helps. And so, of course, going into the winter, our expenses increase because we are heating all of those animal buildings. Every animal at the sanctuary has a temperature-controlled building and bedroom to get into. I don't know many facilities that can say that, and yes, we have cold winters here, but even the Canada Lynx and Bobcats who don't need it, they use it when we give that to them. And I think that's what's so wonderful about your support in the sanctuary. It's not about what they have to have, it's what options we can give them and letting them choose what they want to have. That's what makes TWS so special. So Kristen's telling me it's 2 days before Dash's birthday. It's so funny. You would think I would remember his birthday every moment of every day. I don't. Birthdays and death dates and even gotcha dates are things that I don't keep in my mind. My husband will even tell you, when he asks me how long we've been married, I have to do the math. And so, I can't believe he's going to be 3 years old. Or is he going to be 4, you guys? You can't keep me, there's just too much going on for me to remember those details. But what I do remember is how much I love Dash and how much he is such a good boy. But we'll definitely make sure we celebrate that one. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Like I said, don't have a lot on the list because it has just been really trying to celebration November. Dash's birthday is the 23rd. I was like, wasn't it around Thanksgiving? So we will celebrate Dash's birthday on the 23rd, which will be after Give to the Max Day. Maybe he'll be the one that gives you guys the big thank you for all your support during Give to the Max. But really, again, it's just us getting through a few weeks here. Still, everybody's out working so hard, doing so much for the cats, despite the hard days they're having when they have to say goodbye, despite all the contractors on site, all the media that's been on site, trying to put on happy faces for all the interviews when we know we're going to have to say goodbye to a cat. But we appreciate the support and love so very much. It just means the world to us. And so I just want to say condolences to all of you for losing our residents too, because I know how much you love them. And Olivia and I will probably come live to you at some point from the PAWS conference in California, and we will let you know what we've learned once we come back next week from there. So have a good weekend, everyone.